Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths that is based on the advanced information given to us by the exam boards. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. So we have an original amount, and this represents 100% of the original amount. The new price, or new amount, represents 113% because it has said that it has gone up by 13%. So it has increased by 13%. And as a value, that increase is £1,287. So it's 13% of the original. It's gone up 13% of the original price. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out what 1% of the price increase is. Instead of 13%, we're going to work out what 1% is. And we're going to do that by dividing the amount by 13. And we get 99. So 1% represents £99, so 1% of the original represents £99. But the new amount is 113%. So we need to times the £99 by 113, which gives us £11,187. So the picture is now worth £11,187. So you do need to know the parts of a circle. So the full distance around the circle is called the circumference. If you've got a little bit of it, it's an arc. If you've got a line across it, that would be a chord. And the part that's kind of trapped in there is called a segment. Then if you've got a line across the circle going through the centre, that's a diameter. If you've got a line just going to the centre, if I can draw it properly, then that's called a radius. If you've got a line that touches the circle just on one point like that, that's a tangent. But in this case, we have a sector. So we can see that the first four of these have already been plotted. Now it's really important that you you do the coordinate the right way around. So the first one is number and then algebra. So we're looking at this coordinate here. We're 18 on number, which would be here, and then 14 on algebra, which would be this point here. 12 on both, so 12 and 12 would be here, and then 21 and 17. So 21 and 17 would be roughly there. For mutually exclusive events for A and B, the probability of A or B is equal to the probability of A plus the probability of B. Now we're given the probability of A or B, which is 0.36, and we're given the probability of A, which is 0.12. And so to work out the probability of B, all we need to do is going to solve this. We're just going to take away 0.12 from both sides, and that will give us 0.24 is equal to the probability of B. So B must be 0.24. It only works if A and B are mutually exclusive though. So the first piece of information I'm going to focus on is the fact Denver gets 8/19. Denver gets 8/19, that means that Engel and Fido together must get 11/19 because they have to add up to 1. So we're only looking at 11/19. I'm going to focus on the ratio next of Engel to Fido. So it's 9:5. And let's have a look and see, well, first of all, how many parts there are all together. So 9 plus 5, which is 14 parts. So there are 14 parts in total. And the share that they get is 11/19. So what I'm going to do is find out what fraction one of those parts is worth by dividing 11/19 by 14. So each part is worth, and I'm just going to keep this into my calculator, 0.041 blah blah blah. And we're asked to find Fido share. Well, Fido has 5 parts. So Fido has 5 parts, each of them worth 0.041 blah blah blah. I've kept it in my calculator to keep the accuracy. And when I do that, I get 0.206 blah blah blah. Now we're asked to work it out as a percent. So I'm just going to times that by 100. So we have 20.676 blah 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 percent, and it wants it rounded to the nearest percent, so that would be 20%. Or actually it would be 21%, because this would round it up, so 21%. To work out the circumference we need the diameter, and the diameter is just the full distance across a circle. So to work out what the diameter is, we're just going to get that radius and times it by 2, which will give us 30 centimeters. The formula for the circumference is just pi times the diameter, and that's going to be pi times 30. And when you do that on the calculator, you get 94.247 blah blah blah. And when you round that, you will get 94.25. We rounded it to 2 decimal places because that's what the question asked us to. So there's a formula for percentage increase or percentage change, and it is the change over the original amount times 100%. So to find out the change here, we're going to do the difference between 1421 and 1100. So we're going to do 1421 take away 1100, which is 321. Divide that by the original amount. So the original amount was the 1100, and then times by 100%. And that's going to be 29.18%. I'm going to start by expanding these brackets. You could have divided both sides by 2 and then expanded the brackets on the left, but I'm just going to expand them all because it might be maybe easier, I don't know. So we've got 2x minus 44. Get our lines in because we're solving. And the rule is that we get rid of the smaller amount of x. So we've got 2x here and 12x on the other side. So we're going to subtract the 2x from both sides. And so that'll give us 10x minus 84 is less than minus 44. So we've got minus 44 there, but that won't be a problem because we're going to add 84 to both sides. And so we've got 10x is less than 40. And then we're going to divide 10 both sides to get what x is, or what x is less than. And that would be 4. So our answer is x is less than 4. To find the exterior angle of any polygon, we do 360 divided by the amount of sides. These are decagons, which means they have 10 sides. So the exterior angles will be 36 degrees. And the exterior angle is just an angle that kind of continues on. You just continue on from the side. So this one here is the exterior angle of the left-hand decagon, and this one here is the exterior angle on the right-hand decagon. So altogether, the angle A will be 36 plus 36, which will be 72. So our answer will be 72 degrees. So this question says that Adrian, Ben and Charlie have some sweets, and the ratio of Adrian to Ben to Charlie is 9 to 6 to 13. But it also says that Charlie got 56 more sweets than Adrian. So there's 56 more sweets. Well, looking at the actual parts of the ratio, there are 4 more parts. So plus 4 parts which represents plus 56 sweets. So the 4 extra parts are worth 56 sweets. So 4 parts are worth 56 sweets. So 1 part would be 56 divided by 4, which is 14 sweets. So all we need to do now is work out how many parts there are. Well, there are 9 plus 6 plus 13 parts, which is 28. And each part is worth 14 sweets. So the total number of sweets will be 28 times 14. So 28 times 14 is 392. The most important first thing that we do is whenever you square something, you times it by itself. So we're going to rewrite this as x minus 15 times x minus 15. And then the way we approach this is exactly the same as we've done with the other ones. We're going to do a multiplication grid. And we're going to do x minus 15 at the top, x minus 15 at the bottom. Then we're going to do x times x, which is x squared, x times minus 15, which is minus 15x. Same again here. And then we've got a minus times a minus, which is a positive 225. Put all the terms together. Now you can see here that we've got the x terms here that will add together. So that would become minus 30x plus 225, and that's actually our answer. So it's x squared minus 30x plus 225. Okay, so we're going to start by writing this out a little bit bigger, give us a bit more space. So it's minus 6x is less than 60. And we're going to do our tram lines down. And we're going to start by dividing both sides by minus 6, because that's what this is doing. It's timesing the x by minus 6. So I'm going to divide both sides by minus 6. So that gets rid of the minus 6 on the left-hand side. And it's going to be 60 divided by minus 6, which will be minus 10. Now we've got to be really careful here, because whenever you times or divide both sides by a negative, you must switch the inequality. So instead of pointing to the left, it's now going to point to the right. So our answer is x is greater than minus 10. So we're looking for angle DEC, which is this one here, but we can't go directly there. We've got to kind of work our way towards it. And the first thing I'm going to look at is these set of parallel lines here. And we've got a line going through these parallel lines, which is this line. If I try and do it without removing it, this line here. And so therefore this angle here and this angle are going to be corresponding. So this is going to be 69 degrees. So I need to write that down properly. So angle CDE equals 69 degrees because of corresponding angles. Okay. So if I know that the CDE is 69, I also will know that this angle here is 69 because they're the bottom two angles in a triangle. Now, when I say that, I mean when an isosceles triangle is the right way up, the bottom two angles are equal. So they're the bottom two angles in an isosceles, although the isosceles is on its side here. And we need to write that down. So it would be angle DCE equals 69 degrees. And this time it's because it's an isosceles triangle. And finally, we can work out what CED is by taking those away from 180. So angle CED, or actually I should keep it as it says in the question, DEC, is equal to 180, take away the 69 plus 69. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. And when you do that, you get the answer of 42 degrees. So the answer is 42 degrees. So we're going to start off with x equals 0. And we're going to write out this equation, but with 0 every time it says x. So it's going to be y equals 0 squared minus 0 plus 10. Well, 0 squared is just 0, so 0 take away 0 is just 0, plus 10 is just going to be 10. So the answer there would be 10. Do the same for 1. So it would be 1 squared minus 1 plus 10. Well, 1 squared is 1, 1 take away 1 is 0, plus 10 is 10. So that will also be 10. 2 squared minus 2 plus 10. 2 squared is 4, 4 take away 2 is 2, plus 10 will be 12. Now we're going to do the negative, so we're going to look at minus 1. So it's y equals minus 1 squared, and it's going to be minus 1 plus 10. So a little bit more complicated here. Minus 1 squared is just 1. Now here you have two negatives together. When you have two negatives together, it makes a plus. So we've got 1 plus 1 plus 10, which is going to be 12. And then we'll do the minus 2, so it'd be minus 2 squared minus 2 plus 10. So minus 2 squared is 4. The two minuses here make a plus, so it'd be plus 2, which would be 6, plus 10 will be 16. So we're going to plot these on our graph. And so we've got minus 2 is at 16, so that'll be there. Minus 1 is at 12. Should be here. 0 is at 10, 1 is at 10, and 2 is at 12. Okay, when you join this up, things to be aware of is you need to make sure that you have a round U at the bottom and not a flat bottom. Okay, so you want to avoid a flat bottom. You also want to make sure that you avoid feathering like that. You want just one nice smooth line. And my recommendation is always to turn the page on its side. I don't have that luxury, so I'm going to try my best with this. But you need to make sure it goes through all the points. And here's the part here where it goes beneath those 2 points. So make sure it goes beneath those 2 points. On most exams, I see them, basically what they do is they draw a line across from those 2 points and say that the line needs to go beneath that, or your curve needs to go beneath that line. So they're looking out that you've gone beneath the line. There's a lot going on with this question, so I'm going to start off just having a look at the total amount of money. So I'm going to do this in pence, so 2115 pence. And if each merit point is worth 3 pence, then we can work out the amount of merit points by doing 2,115 divided by 3. So that gives us 705. So there's 705 merit points. Next, have a look at the question here, this part here, where it says James has X merit points. Sarah has 4 times as many points as James, so she's going to have 4x. Robert has 69 fewer merit points than James, so he's going to have x minus 69. And we know that that equals 705 because we've just worked that out. And this feels like a solving coming on. So we've got x plus 4x plus x, which is 6x. Minus 69 equals 705. And we're going to add 69 to both sides. So we've got 6x equals 774. Then we're going to divide 6 both sides. And so we've got x equals 129. So x equals 129. That means James has 129. Sarah has 4 times more, so she will have 516. And Robert has 69 fewer, so we're going to take 69 away from that, and that will equal 60. To find out what the value of x is, we first of all have to find out what the value of y is. And we can notice that we've got two sets of parallel lines here and here, and a line going through them. And we kind of got these F angles, which we have to call corresponding angles. So we know that 2y minus 50 is equal to 78. And we must write down the reason. So corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are equal. Now here we've got an equation and we want to solve it. So we get our lines in. We'll go first of all add 50 to both sides. So we've got 2y equals 78 plus 50, which would be 128. And then we're going to halve both sides, or divide by 2. So we've got 64. So we know that y is 64. And so we look back at the diagram to find out how we'd work out x. Well, what we can do, there's a few different things we can do. We could work out the fact that these two here are vertically opposite. That would be absolutely fine. But actually, if we look at this part here and this part here, these are also two parallel lines, and we've got this angle here and this angle are going to be alternate. So I can write that down here. So angle ECB is equal to 78 degrees. So this will be 78 degrees. And the reason for that is alternate angles. And then finally, if we know this is 78 and we know that this is 64, because we know what y is, then we can work out what x is. So x equals 180, angles in a triangle, take away the 78 we know and the 64 we know. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And just make sure you write down all the reasons as you go. And when we take away the 78 and the 64 from 180, you get 38. So x is therefore 38 degrees. On a scatter graph, an outlier is a point which doesn't fit the pattern. And as we can see here, all of these coordinates fit kind of a nice line going down there. So they all are showing a trend. But we've got this point here that's nowhere near that trend at all, and that's what we call an outlier. So we know that these are going up in twos, so this will be 28, so the x coordinate will be 28, and this will be 19. So our coordinate will be 28, 19 for our outlier. The important thing when choosing a sample is that everyone has an equal chance of being picked. So if you look at method 1, picking the first 30 students who enter the school is going to have a bias, because there might be a difference in the type of person who arrives early to school to the type of person who might arrive later. If we select a class in the school, then they're generally all going to be the same age. So if it's a year 7 class or a year 11 class, they're all going to be the same age. It might seem that it's fair that picking the first 30 students alphabetically, so A to F or whatever, again, that's not fair, because the people at the end of the register don't have an equal chance of being picked. So you need to make sure everyone in your population has an equal chance of being picked. So picking 30 students out of a hat containing all the students' names in is definitely the fairest way of picking a sample from this list. So when we say y is directly proportional to x, what we mean is whenever x doubles, y will double. Whenever x halves, y will halve. Now, we've got this proportionality sign here. And to make that an equals, all we need to do is introduce a k constant to the right-hand side. So it's y equals something times x. Now, to find out what that something is, to find out what that constant is, what we're going to do is feed in the value of y and the value of x that we have. So we're going to feed those in. So y is 55.3 and x is 7. So it would be 7k. And we're just going to put our lines in and solve this. So it's going to be divide by 7 both sides. and 55.3 divided by 7 is 7.9, and that's what k is. So we're going to rewrite this equation here, this formula here, y equals 7.9x, and that is actually our answer. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other two in a right angled triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle. So it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared. And 49 squared is 2,401. And 68 squared is 4,624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down. And we're going to start by subtracting the 2,401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2,223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148, blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have a, we've got our b, and we're going to call x the c. So it'd be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but this time a is 39. B we are given as 47.148, we've just worked that out. And we're looking for c, in fact we can call it x now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to x squared. And we'll just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides, and we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to x. It says it wants its two decimal places, so that will be 61.19. The formula for an exterior angle for a regular polygon is 360 divided by the amount of sides. Now here we're given the fact that the exterior angle is 30, and we're looking for n, so we just need to rearrange the equation. We can times both sides by n. And then divide both sides by 30. And so we've got n equals 360 divided by 30. And when you do 360 divided by 30, we get the answer of 12. So it's a 12-sided shape. So to find the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. So that's what we're going to do here. But whenever you have an expression representing a length or a width or anything really, you just put brackets around it. So we go u minus 2 times u plus 9. Okay, and the way we do this is with our grid, and just going to draw out the grid. And so we've got u minus 2, and we're multiplying it by u plus 9. Don't want too many for some reason. And so we've got u times u, which is u squared, u times minus 2, which is minus 2u, 9 times u, which is 9u, and 9 times minus 2, which is minus 18. And what we're going to do is we're just normally going to be able to add these ones together. So our answer will be u squared, and then we're going to do 9u plus minus 2u. Well, that's just going to be 9u take away 2u, which is 7u. So plus 7u, and then minus 18 at the end. So we're going to write an expression for the amount of people on the first bus. So they've started with X passengers and they've gone to 11 bus stops with X passengers. So altogether that is 12X. So we're going to have the first bus. And so we've got 12X. And then on the last bus stop, 19 passengers get on. So plus 19. Now for the second bus, well, we start with x and a further 5x come on, because 5 bus stops with x passengers, so that's 6x altogether, and then 79 get on. And it says the first bus finishes with less passengers than the first. So the first bus finishes with less, and the way we show that is with this inequality here. Now all we need to do is solve that inequality, and we've got x on both sides, so we look at the x's. We've got 12x and 6x, so we always take away the smaller amount, so we're going to take away the 6x both sides. And next thing we're going to do is take away the 19 from both sides. And so, meant to be 60. Got ahead of myself. And the last thing we do is divide by 6 both sides. And so we've got x is less than 10. Now, it says here, assuming no passengers got off either bus, what is the largest value for x? Now it is tempting to write down 10, but it says x has to be less than 10. So the biggest number we can get that is less than 10 is 9. First thing we need to do is work out the volume of this prism, and it's a trapezium based prism. So the volume will be the area of the cross section, or area of the trapezium, times the length, how 3D the prism is. So trapezium is half a plus b h, and then times the length. Now a and b are the two parallel sides, which will be this one and this one, and then the h is the perpendicular line that hits both of them at 90 degrees, which is what perpendicular means, between the bases. So this will be the 25 meters here. So it's going to be half, and then we're going to add 1 and 5, times that by 25. The length is how 3D it is, so it would be that 10 there. So we're going to times that by 10, and that will give us 750. So it's 750 meters cubed. Now, there is a little formula we can make for the rate. So the rate of anything for this will be the volume gained over time. Now, with this question though, we're interested in the time it will take. It says how long will it take. So we're actually looking at the time. So it will be time equals the volume, which is 750, over the rate, which is 15. So 750 divided by 15 is 50. So it will take 50, and let's have a look. It says per minute, so it would be 50 minutes. The formula for the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. So we're going to do 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed, which is 17. And that gives us 20,579.526, blah, blah, blah. So to 2 decimal places, that would be 20,579.53. So here we're given a standard form number, and we're asked to make it an ordinary number, which is just a number you type into the calculator. So we're going to start off by writing the decimal, which is 6.2, and we're going to shift that decimal point somewhere that it will be the actual number rather than standard form anymore. First thing to point out is we look at the power. If it's positive, it means that our ordinary number is going to be a big number. If it's negative, it means it's going to be a very small number. Since this is positive, we know it's going to be a big number. So we're going to do 4 jumps, because there's a power of 4, to the right to make it a big number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the decimal point is going to be here. And we're going to fill in the jumps with zeros. So 0, 0, 0. So our new number is going to be 62 with 3 zeros, or 62,000. Now, it's important to realise that we're actually shifting the numbers, not the decimal point, but it's a lot easier to move the decimal point in our working out. So what's happened here is that the company's increased the amount of sweets by 15%. So we're just going to focus on that and work out what the multiplier would be first. So they started off with 100% and they added 15%, and then therefore they ended up with 115%. And to find that as a multiplier, we get the 115 and divide it by 100, and that gives us 1.15. So that is the multiplier they used. Now, they used that multiplier on the original amount, and they times it by 1.15, and they got the answer of 69. But if we're working the other way to find out what they times by 1.15, we get that 69, and we divide it by the multiplier. So if we want to work out what the original number was, we divide it by the multiplier, and that gives us 60. So the answer will be 60. So we've got to first of all understand what standard form is, and standard form is a number that is between 1 and 10, but not including 10, times 10 to the power of another number. So to find out what the number's going to be for our standard form, we're going to just write down the decimal first, so 0.098. And we've got to put a decimal point in somewhere to make this a number between 1 and 10. So if I put it in here, that would make it 9.8, and we're ignoring the zeros to the left-hand side. So we know that our standard form is going to start off with 9.8 times 10 to the power of something. Now this times 10 is always going to be there. It's never divided by 10 or anything like that. It's always times 10. Next, we've got to find out what the power is going to be. So first of all, if it's a small number, if it's a number less than 1, which this is, it's a small number, it's going to be a negative power. And the next thing we do is work out how many jumps we had to do. So it would be 1, 2 jumps between where the decimal point was and where it is now. So 2 jumps means it's going to be to the power of -2. The volume for a pyramid is 1/3 times the length times the width times the height for a square or rectangle based pyramid. And so we've got 1/3 times the 20 times the 20 times the 11, and that gives us 1466.666 recurring. And so to 2 decimal places, that is 1466.67 centimeters cubed. So when we find the mean of something, we add the elements together and we divide them by the amount of elements. So here we've got 3 elements. So what we're going to do is add these together and then divide by 3. Now the problem is that the denominators are not the same, so we can't add them yet. But they're all factors of 45. So we're going to times top and bottom of the first one by 9. So we end up with 9k over 45. Times the top and bottom by 3, and so it would be 3 brackets k plus 1 over 45, and the last one is over 45, so we don't need to do anything for that. Then we can just add the numerators together, and I'm just going to expand the bracket here, so it's 3k plus 3 plus k plus 4, and then all of that over 45. And we're going to do 9k plus 3k plus k, which is going to be 13k. And then 3 plus 4, which is just 7, over 45. So the sum of them is 13k plus 7 over 45. So to work out the mean, we need to divide it by 3. But instead of writing divide by 3, we know KFC, keep, flip, change. If you have a division, you keep the first fraction, you change the divide into a times, and you flip the second fraction. So a different and easier way of writing that is times 1/3. So here we just keep the numerator the same because we're timesing it by 1. And then the bottom we just times by the 3, which would be 135. So our answer is 13k plus 7 over 135. This question relies on the fact that you know what the equation of a circle is. The equation of a circle is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Now r is the radius of the circle. So when I rewrite this and I write it with our 16 there, we can actually rewrite 16 as 4 squared. Okay, comparing this equation to this equation, we can see that r is 4. Now this equation, the x squared plus y squared equals r squared, gives a circle with the centre at 0, 0, at the origin. So it means that the radius will be 4, so the circle will go all the way up here, all the way across here, all the way down here, and all the way across here. Now, I am really bad at drawing circles, and so what I would recommend you do is use a compass and measure out 4 and join these up. I'm going to try my best. I don't have a compass that works with this graphics tablet, but I'm going to try and draw somewhat of a circle. There we are. That's probably the best circle I'm going to draw. So what you do is you just get a compass and put the point at 0, and then you would measure out 4 units. So measure it between the 0 and the 4, and then just draw a perfect circle round. If we draw out this rectangle, we can go through the distances one by one and find out what they have to be to maximize the perimeter of the rectangle. Now, perimeter is obviously the distance around the rectangle. So we're going to start off with the 24 centimeters. So the maximum that could be, well, the biggest it could be before it rounds to 25 is 24.5. And so these are both going to be 24.5. 98 centimeters, well, the maximum that could be is 98.5. And so to find the perimeter, all we're going to do is add all these together. So 98.5 plus 24.5 plus 98.5 plus 24.5. And that gives us the answer of 246 centimeters. So we're going to start by finding the multiplier. So we start off with 100%. It says it's decreasing at a rate of 8.1%. So we're going to take away the 8.1%. And then when we do that, we get 91.9%. Make that a multiplier by dividing it by 100, essentially making it a decimal. So whenever we get a number and we times it by 0.919, we're decreasing it by 8.1%. Now, there aren't any amounts given to us in this question, so we're just going to make one up. We're going to say that the population is 100, okay? And what we're going to do is type in 100 into our calculator, and then we're going to press the equals button. Now what that does is it stores the 100 in the calculator's memory. And it's basically, it's this next line that's the crucial bit. We're going to type in answer, which at the moment is that 100, times 0.919. And what that does is it says what the current answer is, we're going to decrease it by 8.1%. We're going to times it by that multiplier. And so every time we press the equals button, what it's going to do is it's just going to keep decreasing it by 8.1%. And we're going to count the amount of times we've got to press the equals button, because every time we press the equals button, it counts as a year. So when we first press it, it's going to be 91.9. Then press it again, it's going to be 84.4. So we're waiting for it to be beneath 43%. So if we started off with 100, we're looking for it to be below 43. So keep pressing it, keep pressing it. On the 9th year, we get 46.7, so that's close to that 43. Press it again, and we get 42.9. So it's 10 years. It's 10 times you've got to press it to get it beneath the 43. First thing to notice is we actually have two radii here. So we've got this radius here and this radius here. And all radii are always equal in length. So we have an isosceles triangle here. So this angle here is going to be 19x as well. And we've got to write that down. So we're going to say angle OBA is equal to 19x. And the reason is it's an isosceles triangle. Okay, so we know these two are equal. Well, we also can work out x because, as I said before, we have a triangle here. And all angles in a triangle add up to 180. So we've got 7x plus 19x plus 19x equals 180 degrees. And this is angles in a triangle. Try and draw a better triangle, equal 180 degrees. Try and write out these reasons in full. Okay, so that's going to be, was it 45x equals 180. And let's get our solving lines in. And we're just going to divide both sides by 45. Okay, so we've got x equals 180 divided by 45, which is 4. Now, we're looking for this angle here. That's angle ABC. Now, there's a few different ways we could do this. We could work out what this angle is, because it's a big triangle, etc., etc. Or we can use the fact that we've got a tangent touching a radius. So we know that this, let's just pick a different colour, this angle here is 90 degrees. So we can write that down. So angle OBC equals 90 degrees because it's the angle between a tangent and a radius. Again, make sure you write all the reasons in full. And so therefore, angle ABC, which is what we're asked for, it's just 90 take away the 19x. Well, we know that 19x is 19 times 4, because we know that x is 4. And so that would be 76, so in total it would be 14 degrees. So angle ABC is 14 degrees. To find the length of the rectangle, what we're going to do is we're going to get the area and we're going to divide it by the width. Now, the question says that it wants the minimum length, so we want the length to be as small as possible. Obviously, to do that, we want the area to be as small as possible. If the area is smaller, the length will be smaller. But let's have a look at a couple of fractions. So let's have a look at a half and 1 over 100. Which one of those fractions is the smallest? Well, it's 1 over 100, but what do you notice about the denominator? That as the denominator gets bigger, the fraction gets smaller. So to make something smaller, we actually want the denominator to be as big as possible. So we want the width to be as large as possible. So we're going to find the lower bound of the area. And an easy way to find a lower bound is find the accuracy. Well, it says the accuracy is to the nearest 10. And what we're going to do is halve that. So half of 10 is 5. And then we're going to take it away from the area. So it's 98,540, take away 5, which will be 98,535. Now for the width, we're going to do the same thing, half the accuracy, half of 10 is 5, but we're looking for the upper bound, we're looking for the biggest it can be. So we're going to add that on, 1, 2, 3, 5. And when you do that calculation, you get the answer of 79.78542, blah, blah. And it says it wants it to 4 decimal places. So we're going to do 79.7854. We're going to first of all multiply the coefficient of the x squared, which is 6, with the number on its own at the end, which is minus 5. And that will give us minus 30. And the special thing about this number is we're looking for two numbers that times together to make that number. And we're looking for two numbers that add together to make the coefficient of the x, which would be 13. Now, to make a product that's negative, we know that they're going to have to be different signs. So one will be positive, the other will be negative. And we can do this in our head, or we can write out the factors. So I can just quickly write out the factors of minus 30. So it would be minus 1 and 30, minus 2 and 15, minus 3 and 10, minus 5 and 6. And then the same thing, just the other way around. So 1 and minus 30, 2 and minus 15, 3 and minus 10, and 5 and minus 6. And we're looking for the pair of numbers that add together to make 13. So just looking down the list, this one here will make 13, won't it? Because minus 2 plus 15, or 15 take away 2, is 13. So the two numbers we're looking for are plus 15 and minus 2. I'm going to rewrite the question now, but instead of the plus 13x, we're going to split it up into the plus 15 and minus 2, or the other way around. So we could do 6x squared minus 2x plus 15x minus 5. And a little tip, if you've got a positive and a negative number, let's just tidy that up a bit, always put the negative number first. Okay, so always, if you've got a choice, put the negative number first and then the positive number. It just makes the maths a bit easier. We're going to look at the first two terms and the second two terms separately. We're going to factorise them linearly, which means just put them into a bracket. And we'll only look at the purple box. So here we've got 6x squared minus 2x. So that's obviously going to be 2x on the outside. And that's going to be 3x minus, and here it's actually just going to be minus 1, isn't it? Okay. And for the next one, we're going to have, was it 5? And that would be 3x, and again, minus 1. Okay, these two brackets, it's not a coincidence they're the same. They have to be the same, and we just write them once. They are one of our brackets. If they're not the same, it means you've made a mistake somewhere. And we get the 2x and the plus 5 together. So 2x plus 5, we put them together. So in total, we have the first bracket, which is 2x plus 5, and the second bracket, which is 3x minus 1. And actually, the brackets can be either way around. When we add fractions or integers and fractions, we need the denominators of the fractions to be the same. And when we've got an integer, we just convert it to a fraction. And here, we've got 9k. And we need to convert that to a fraction that is over k plus 9. And the way we do that is we get the 9k and we times it by k plus 9 over k plus 9. And effectively, k plus 9 over k plus 9 is just 1. So we're doing 9k times 1. So we're keeping it the same. We're keeping it as 9k. So what we do when we times a 9k or a term by a fraction is we times the top, the numerator of the fraction. So it's going to be 9k brackets k plus 9, and all of that over k plus 9. Expanding the brackets, we get 9k squared plus 81k over k plus 9. And so what I'm going to do is just feed that back in here. And so we've got 9k squared plus 81k over k plus 9, which is just that 9k bit, plus 11 over k plus 9. And whenever we're in this situation here, we just add the numerators. So it's going to be 9k squared plus 81k plus 11, and all of that over k plus 9. And that will be our answer. So let's put that in our answer field. We're going to start by working out what outcomes will give us two different types of drink. So we could have OA or AO. We could have AW or WA, and we could have OW or WO. Now what we notice really when we do this is that OA gives us the same probability as AO, same with AW and WA, same with OW and WO. So we're going to just ignore the right hand side ones, and we're just going to focus on the left hand side ones. To work out the probability of O and then A, so orange juice then apple juice, we work out the fact that it's 6 over, well, the probability of picking orange juice first of all is 6 over 27. And then if we picked an orange juice, the probability of picking an apple juice would be 9 over 26. And so that would be 54 over 702. Apple juice then water would be 9 over 27, and then 12 over 26, and so that would be 108 over 702. And then orange juice then water will be 6 over 27 and 12 over 26, and that would be 72 over 702. Now we're looking at the probability of this or this or this, and the word or means add. So the probability of OA or, I should put that in brackets, probability of OA or AW or OW is these added together. And when you add them together, you get 234 over 702. Now, I said we would deal with the reverse situations now. I'm going to deal with that now. And as I said, OA is going to be equal to AO, AW is equal to WA, and OW is equal to WO. So all we need to do to find the probability that the drinks are different is get the 234 over 702 and just double it. And we can do that by just doubling the numerator. So 468 over 702. That cancels down to 2/3. So there is a 2/3 chance that the drinks will be different. So with all these circle theorem questions, there's multiple ways of doing it. I'm going to show one way, but if you've got a different way and you get the right answer in correct methods, then please feel free to use that. First thing I'm going to notice is we've got a lot of tangents touching radii. So we've got 2 radii here and here. And whenever we've got a tangent touching a radius, it's always going to be 90 degrees. And so I'm just going to show these all on the diagrams 90 degrees. And then we're going to say angle OBC equals angle OBA equals angle ADO equals 90 degrees, and we have to show the reasons. Most of the marks in this question will be for the reason. So it's going to be a tangent radius equals 90 degrees. And try and write out the full reasons. I'm going to just keep it a little bit contained, just so I can fit this answer all on the same slide. Okay, so the first thing I'm realizing is that there's a nice little quadrilateral here. And whenever we've got quadrilateral and we've got 3 of the sides, we can work out the last one. So angle DOB is going to be 360, take away the angles that we know, so 90 plus 90 plus 48. And the reason for that is angles in quadrilateral add up to 360 degrees. And so when you do 360, take away that, you get 132 degrees. So this is 132. But we also have this angle here, which is also angle DOB, but I'm going to call this kind of the reflex one. And to work this one out, we just do 360, take away 132. And the reason for that is angles on a point equal 360 degrees. And so we're going to do 360, take away 132, which is 228. So this is 228 degrees. Now we can also use the circle theorem to work out this one, because we've got an angle at the centre and an angle at the circumference. and the angle at the centre is twice the angle at circumference. So angle DFB is going to be 132 divided by 2. Angle at centre twice angle at circumference. Okay, so when we halve that, so 132, and we're going to halve it, so that's 66 degrees. We should really put degrees on these. Okay, the next one we're going to work out is this angle here, which is angle OBF. There's no reason for this, it's just the whole thing is 90. We're taking away the 77, so that would be 13 degrees. So that's a nice easy one. And let's just put the 66 degrees on our diagram as well. And the final thing really here is that we've got a quadrilateral here, kind of arrowhead. And we've got 3 of the angles, 1, 2, 3, and we're looking for the third one. So angle ODF is going to be 360, take away all the angles that we know, so the 228, the 13, and the 66. And the reason being the same as before, so angles in quadrilateral add up to 360 degrees. And when you do that, you get the answer of 53 degrees. So this angle here is going to be 53 degrees. I'm going to first of all just focus on this rectangle here. And we know that to find the area of a rectangle, you multiply the two lengths. And when you've multiplied them for this rectangle, we get 697. But let's write down what A is equal to. And A will be equal to the area, which is 697, divided by the length at the top, which is x plus 30. Now let's focus on the other square, or the other rectangle. And this time we have A equal to the area of it, which is 1870, divided by the 10x. Now because both of these are equal to A, we can actually just get both of these fractions equal to each other. And what we can do is work out what x is going to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my lines in, because we are looking to solve. This is probably going to take a while. And I'm going to times both sides by the x plus 30. So I can get rid of the denominator on the left hand side. And so this will just be 697 on the left hand side, because that gets rid of the denominator. And it will be 1870 times x plus 30, and then all of that over 10x. Same thing again, but I'm going to get rid of the denominator on the right hand side, so I'm going to times both sides by 10x. So we've got 697 times 10, which would be 6,970x, because it's 10x. And it won't actually do anything to the right hand side, but I'm going to expand the top, the numerator. It just gets rid of the denominator. So let's expand while I'm here. So that would be 1870x plus, what's it, 56,100. I believe that's right. Yep. Okay, so now we've got x's on both sides. So we look and see which one is the smaller amount of x, which is the 1870. And we're going to take that away from both sides. So take away 1870x from both sides. And that will leave 5100x on the left hand side. And then obviously we've got the 56,100 on the right hand side. And we want to get rid of the 5,100, so we're just going to divide both sides by 5,100. And so we've got x equals 11. So now we know x is 11, we can pick one of the equations that we had at the start, and I'm just going to pick the first one, and we can just feed in the value of x. So a equals 697 over, instead of x, it's going to be 11 plus 30. And when you do that, you get the answer of 17. So a is 17. So we're asked to, first of all, complete the square. So that's what we're going to do. And to complete the square, we've got to remove the minus from the x squared because we've got to have x squared. So we're just going to factorise out the minus 1 effectively. And we have minus x squared, and this has to be minus 10x. And then we're just going to leave the plus 7 on its own at the end there. And the reason this is a minus 10x is a minus 1 times minus 10x is 10x. Okay, so we're going to leave that, and we're going to just focus on the x squared minus 10x. So the way we complete the square is you do a bracket, and you have x, and then you halve what the coefficient of the x is, so that'd be minus 5, and then square it. Now if you expand that, you get x squared, brilliant, minus 10x, fantastic, plus 25, right, we need to get rid of that 25. And so I'm going to now expand the bracket with the minus on. So we've got minus x minus 5 squared plus 25 plus 7. And then we're just going to add the 25 and the 7, and you should get 32. Now, if I'm to draw the graph of y equals minus x squared, it's just a graph that looks like this. But more importantly, that their maximum point on this graph is at 0, 0. And if we remember our graphic transformations say that if we have a minus 5 on the inside of our function, and so comparing this function, say this is f of x, part of this equation here involves a minus 5 inside the function. That minus 5 moves the graph to the right 5. Okay, so we're going to move it to the right 5. Similarly, if you have a function and you've got a plus 32 on the outside of it, which we have here, it's going to move it up 32. So instead of our maximum point being at 0, 0, it's moving to the right 5, so the x coordinate would be 5, and up 32, so the y coordinate would be 32. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.